Okay, garden fans, this is going to be a quick update. We're going to do a before and after shot here. While many of us were out in the great Pacific Northwest gallivanting about, we did get some cries of what's happening to the garden, who's taking care of the garden, who's watering the garden, how is the garden? Well, you were right to be concerned, because 2 weeks of doing nothing has taken its toll, mostly by the damn deer I'm going to show you. We have what I can only call severe predation. Whoa! By the deer. And they jumped the fence, I'll show you where, and they were chomping down on the tomatoes. I mean, look at that. They're not supposed to like tomatoes. But they didn't get the memo, and they have really done a number on that. And the beans, they ate all the leaves off of the beans. I did manage to get a few, and the weeds are just ridiculous. And so we're gonna have to get out here tomorrow. It's like 90 plus degrees, 100% RH, and it's not fit for man nor beast. And you can see the weeds have taken over, the deer have taken over. They got the cucumbers. I don't know if you can see up there. They chomped on those. They got the squash. So tomorrow I'm going to take some more drastic measures and clean the garden up, and we'll do a before and after shot. Okay, one thing that you don't get to see a lot of is kind of the fruits of the labor. I told you the green beans, we've been picking these. These are the Blue Lakes. These are really nice. They're small, they're tender, they're going to be delicious. We've got more of those in there. And then this is the dill I've processed so far. I used some of it in the dill pickles right there. And this is some puny garlic that is all dried and ready to use, and we have used it. It's just wonderful. And dill pickles made with fresh-grown, homegrown cucumbers, homegrown dill, homegrown garlic, and they are delicious. Okay, this is the intermediary process of the garlic production. So after you dig it up, it's got to cure, which means it's just got to air dry, and it's got to have airflow all the way around it. So I used the garage. Now, Brian, my spiritual garden advisor, said the garage is probably not the best place, might be too humid, but it seems to work fine. It's the third lot that I've processed there. So I've done this 2 or 3 times now, and there's going to be some more, as you see in the garden. But you just pull it up, you let it dry, you don't cut the roots. After it's dried for a couple weeks, cut the roots, cut the stem off, take the outer husk off, and you're ready to go. Hey, we'll start over here at what's passing for the herb garden this year. There's not really a lot good going on. We had some basil, a few basils that came up, but you can see there's a lot of empty space where there isn't any. Only thing doing super well is the dill, and I guess we're going to make a lot of pickles. I got the sage that came back, but I don't know how to process that. I'll have to do some reading up, and that did come back from last year. Now we do have some summer savory. It's pretty sparse. Most of you got a little packet last year. I don't know how well it's going to do this year. Right now I'm not encouraged. The thyme is not doing good at all. That was the one left over from last year, and there's a couple that came up this year. I planted some more dill and cilantro. Cilantro hasn't come up at all. And when Pico de Gallo season comes, I'm going to really want cilantro. So this is the last of the garlic here. I've picked all the other garlic except these giant boys here, and these are really big. There's going to be some giant pods, I believe. But when they get ready to pick, this all starts turning brown. It gets about brown 2/3 of the way down, and then you can dig it up, But I think these are going to be really big ones because they're just really taking their time ripening. The other ones, as you've seen, I've probably had about half a dozen pods, and I think Brian got one while we were on vacation. And we have the asparagus just doing its asparagus thing, just growing and getting stronger for next year. And then peppers down here. We got a real mixed bag of peppers. We got the beloved Anaheims over here. These are all the regular hot. The hot ones, I only got a couple that survived. And then shishito peppers and a few jalapenos. But you can see they're really, really puny, really far behind. We'll probably get some, but it won't be bountiful. And one thing that's really interesting is these onions. Now, I've never planted onions before. I just kind of threw them in back here. The soil is very, very loose, very sandy. I figured they'd do okay. And right now they're about the size of a golf ball. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll grow, maybe they won't. But kind of like the garlic, you can tell when they're done, and that the top just dies and just kind of flops over, and then they're as grown as they're going to be. Alright, so this is what I've next step in critter control is some extra wire up here so the deer can't get it. You can see this yellow cautionary tape, and everybody knows do not cross the cautionary tape, so I'm really sure that the deer will see that and stop. They don't have good eyesight, that's why I put it up there. They will not see the wire, but they should see the yellow flags, and hopefully that'll be enough of a deterrent to keep them from hopping the fence, which they've never done, but we got one now that does. And the tomatoes are starting to come on. These are the 4th of July ones. None of them are red yet, but they sure are getting ready. Now look at this one. This one is just, it is like a mutant 4th of July. It's huge. Then the Salsa tomatoes are down here, and these are the ones that the deer browse pretty heavily, and they're really damaged. I think they'll come along, but you can see there's some down there, but they really got chomped down and struggling to get back. And then the beloved brandywines are, these are not so good over here, and these are a lot better. So we'll see what happens. But the tomato canopy is starting to do its thing, and the 4th of July's are reaping the benefits of the canopy. So the green beans, we've had a couple messes of them. These guys, these are the quote improved green beans, and they're a little bit bigger, and if you don't get them soon enough, which since we were out in Oregon for 2 weeks, a lot of them we didn't get soon enough, they really get big. That one's okay. I'm going to have to pick these again, but there's some real big boys out here. And then these are the Blue Lake ones, and you can see the deer browse those very, very heavily, but they are coming back, and we still got a lot of flowers. Now the kale was just this thing, these got giant. I just had to cut it down. You can see these leaves got huge. They got full of bugs, ate them. So I did not know kale got that big. Who knew? Well, somebody did, I didn't. And I just chopped it down. We're going to start over, and maybe we'll get another harvest. The cucumbers, these cucumbers are just kind of the drugstore variety seeds, because the good ones that we really like, the Summer Dance, they just didn't do well. They died, and so I had to just put some of these in, and they're okay, but they're just not as good. Then the squash down here, I've got a couple squash you can see going. There's one there, and there's a couple others, but boy, there's a lot of flowers. Not too many squash set on yet, but once they do set on, they do grow quick, so hopefully the little pollinators will do their thing. And you see here's another one, but there's not many more. Now that is a pumpkin, and he's going to be a good one. But again, just one. So I don't know why we haven't had any other set on, but we haven't. I guess one might have to do. And then the tomatillas. The tomatilla wrangling fence is not worried. We're not worried about containing them yet. This guy right here was over. He was a volunteer that came up in the peppers, because that's where I had the tomatillas last year. And he just came up by himself, so I figured I'd transplant him. I pulled him up yesterday and put him in here. He was real wilty, but it looks like it's coming back. He's going to be the biggest one, and these other two, you can see they're going to flower, and pretty soon we're going to have tomatillas. So there you have it, folks. The garden survived, but I did pull up my own weight in crabgrass, and it's a shame that crabgrass isn't a cash crop, because I'd be able to sell this place and buy some little party center in Hood River and retire.